And we're live.
We're live.
Welcome to
All
the Spann
right.
Report podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 55 of the report. And yeah, man, I got a guest with me today. I got a guest host today. Is Lavinia. She be show enough. Introduce yourself to the people. Let them know where they can find you.
All right. Hey, what's going on? This is Lavinia at She Be Showing Up on Twitter, and I am a co-host of Just Thinking Out Loud podcast that I do with my cousin Bujetto Rising. And also She Be Showing Up Straight No Chaser. That's my solo podcast. You can find me on iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, Podbean, and now Spreaker. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, hit me up.
All right, man. And you know what? I came across Lavinia through the Black Podcasters United, man. So if any of you enjoy Black Podcasts, man, it is a Facebook group, as a matter of fact, that can link you to so many different great shows hosted by and for Black people. Well, not necessarily just for Black people, but just giving you a link to. To so many great shows, and I'm glad to have Lavinia on the show here with me today because I got a few topics that I want to kind of run through, and hopefully we can have some spirited discussion here on
Oh
today's
boy,
show.
let's get it started. I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I'm
Okay.
ready.
Okay, well, we're gonna do that, but I gotta get the business out of the way first, man. First of all, let me tell you how you can get in touch with me here at the Spare Report Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can hit me up on the Spare Report hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave me those voicemails. I'll play those voicemails on the show and respond to those voicemails on the show as well. You can also hit me up at the new email for the Spann Report. That's feedback at thespannreport.com. That's feedback at thespannreport.com. That's a new email. So for those of you who've been using the Spann podcast at gmail.com address, it's no longer the one you go send you send your emails to. Go to feedback at thespannreport.com. Send all of those emails there. Also, you can go to thespannreport.com and get all of your Spann Report needs. All of the podcasts are available there. All of the guest spots that I've done are available there. All the Spann TV videos are available there. Check out the Spann Report podcast. It has everything you need as far as the Spann Report is concerned. And, of course, you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter. My name on both of those platforms is, of course, Mr. Spann. It's MR_Spann. So, yeah, man. Yeah, let's get into it. But first, man, what you been up to, sister? What's been going on with you this week?
Nothing much. Like I'm just trying to get ready for this Thanksgiving holiday. I got some cooking to do coming up, so I'm trying to lay low and relax because I got some work to do. It's going to be a busy week coming up.
Okay, okay. Um, have you been following a lot of news lately this week?
Unfortunately, I have.
Unfortunately, okay.
Unfortunately, I have been following it. And every time I log on to Facebook or I turn on the television, it's not good news. It's just
Yeah,
not. They're just
yeah,
tearing down my world, brick by brick.
yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of people's perceptions of folks have been changed a bit this week, man. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, that Aaliyah movie came out.
Mm.
I think it was earlier this week. And we know that Aaliyah's family wasn't very supportive of the film. The producers of the film didn't even have like clearance to play any of Aaliyah's music. I believe the first female actress who was supposed to play Aaliyah pulled out of the film. They had to find a replacement for her. Uh, and Twitter kind of lost his mind when the movie finally came out. They were shitting on that movie every way, each and every way they possibly could. What was your impressions of it? Have you seen it?
Oh, unfortunately, I have, Mr. Spann. Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it. I didn't want to see it. Now, when Bujato talked about this when they first started talking about the whole and the whole Zendaya fallout was just awful, and that girl dodged a bullet. I said she needs to get on Twitter and thank every one of the haters who did not want her to play the role because she really got out of a horrible, terrible, bad and awful movie. Then when I didn't even know when it was coming on until something popped up on Facebook, and I said, you know what? It's like a train wreck. I don't want to, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going in. Went in and I saw it, and from the very first scene, I mean, the cameras were shaky. Then when you got to the storyline, it was terrible. The cast didn't, I mean, you're not going to find complete doppelgangers, but these people look so, I think they were giving us bad cast members just to take the attention off how poorly the movie was written. And on top of it all, they did a biopic about an artist whose music they couldn't even use. Like, what was the point? Once they realized they couldn't use a movie, they should have just scrapped the entire project.
Yeah, you know what? Like I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I saw the backlash of what was going on as that movie was playing because I didn't even know what time the movie was coming on or anything. But as the movie was playing, I'm looking at Twitter and I'm looking at Facebook and everybody's shitting on it, and I'm like, you know what? I believe y'all. I don't need no more people to tell me that this
It was
movie.
bad.
Like I didn't even attempt to see it. But you know what? The funny thing is, like, of course, everybody, Wendy Williams was, of course, one of the executive producers of the film, and a lot of folks were looking forward to what her response was going to be to the movie. And you know what? She responded, and she responded in a way that I pretty much anticipated. Like, she really wasn't going to give anybody the satisfaction to know that, yeah, I put out some bullshit. She let everybody know, like, yeah, this was some bullshit, and y'all watched it, and I still got paid. What y'all gonna do about it?
Exactly.
how'd
Yeah.
you how'd you feel about that?
I mean, of course she was going to get out there and say it. When she took the job, she had to know that it wasn't going to be shit from the beginning.
Hmm.
In fact, when they were talking about Zendaya taking the role and they were talking about the different cast members, she seemed to have a problem with who they were picking for the role. Like, I don't think it's going to work or whatever. Then they said, well, okay, fine. You think you can do better? Go ahead and do it. So they just, I don't know how much actual input she had in the movie, but the fact that she had her name attached to it was enough. I don't know if they just did it so they could get more, so they could get watchers. I don't know the whole point of it. I just know that when she got on there, she owes the family, the fans, everybody. She needs to owe televisions an apology. She owes the camera people, anybody that was the roaches that were on the floor while they were taping this thing, deserve an apology because they had to endure everything that was put 2 hours of straight trash. And I watched it. I'm awful for watching it. I admit it. I watched it. So I'm stupider now for having watched that movie.
I was just getting ready to ask you, did you feel like because we already know like it was so many things that were going wrong with the production of the film before it was even produced, right? Before it was put out to, and released and everybody could watch it. Did you feel like I deserve this because I'm gonna watch this shit anyway, despite all of the negative press it was getting before the shit came out? Like you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I deserve this bullshit. This is what I get for like watching it anyway.
Exactly. It's one of the, it's like when you know something terrible is going to happen. I guess I underestimated exactly how bad it was going to be. And I'll speak for maybe some fans that are out there. I think there was this small glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, something could come out of this movie that they could say, you know what? The rest of it was trash, but at least I got to see, Aaliyah brought to life. And I think that's what a lot of fans were clinging on to. They miss her. She was gone. She went so soon before her time that people they just want to be able to see her brought to life on screen for even just an hour or two. And if she's not an exact lookalike, if you can find somebody that can, that moves like her and that you can that resonates with you, that's what fans wanted. And I think they were really kind of hoping they could get even 5 minutes of that. The best part of this damn movie were the commercials. Like, there was a commercial that came on that had me crying. I was laughing. And then they're like, En Vogue. They're going to have, then of course, you got a black movie. You got to show all the black TV shows that are coming up in the next month or two. So they got something with some En Vogue Christmas or something. And you're watching this and you're like, oh my God. But now I don't even want to watch it after watching what happened to Aaliyah. It's like it's all screwed up. And then I heard En Vogue, it ain't but two of them because Maxine, she don't want to be a part of the group anymore. So anybody that's hoping for an En Vogue reunion, ain't going to happen. Don't even set yourself up for it.
Oh man, like here's the
Spoiler alert.
I didn't hear about the In Vogue movie, but again, like I said, what channel did the was it Lifetime that the Aaliyah movie came on?
Yes, and Lifetime, they're also producing the Whitney Houston movie that's being directed by Angela Bassett. It's Lifetime. They sometimes they put out something nice like they redid Steel Magnolias with a black cast with Queen Latifah.
Hmm.
Beautifully done, great. They also had the Coretta Scott King and Betty Shabazz movie with Angela Bassett and Mary J. Blige. Unfortunately, I missed it, but I heard that that was pretty good. Now,
Hmm.
the Whitney Houston film is being directed or produced by Angela Bassett, who had a personal relationship with Whitney Houston. So I think the hope is there that this is not going to be a repeat of this Mad TV bullshit that we just watched last week.
Okay, okay. Now you mentioned the Whitney Houston movie. I remember I heard something about that. I didn't know it was going to be a Lifetime project. But I do
Hmm.
remember hearing something about, excuse me, that Angela Bassett would be producing it or directing it. She would be involved in some sort of way, and Whitney's daughter had an issue with that. Um, do you anticipate there being similar issues with the Whitney Houston movie on Lifetime, considering the fact that Whitney's daughter isn't exactly giving this project the go ahead?
Um, I think that people respect that as Whitney Houston's daughter, that she should have input or that she should be okay with the project. That being said, I think a lot of people also understand that, God bless Bobby Christina, she ain't wrapped too tight. She's got some things that she's still dealing with. So, I mean, the way that she came off, she was like, I talked to my mama, and she said if anybody ever had a movie, I should play her. And it's like, man, you look just like your daddy. You're not gonna play Whitney, and then eventually you're gonna have to play some opposite to a guy who's supposed to be Whitney's man, which is your daddy. So I don't see how you would play your mother in a role opposite the guy that's supposed to be your daddy. So I don't even see how that would have worked out. Like that was just, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too bad too because they don't have white people playing Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. Like it helps when you have black people in a black movie. That's the
Mm,
first step. And they chose Yaya DaCosta, who was on one of the seasons of America's Top Model. And
mm,
if you Google it, they actually showed a picture of her off her Whitney Houston album where she had her hair was all cute and curls everywhere and big smile. And she looked very similar. There were some features that were different because Yaya has she has very chiseled features because she's a dancer,
mm.
but other than that, I mean, you could see how, as if you look at the movie, you're like, okay, I can see Whitney. Now, how she'll do as playing the role, how deep she'll get into it, and how much attention that they'll pay to the trash that happened in Whitney's life. Granted, that was a big part, but if they're able to focus at least on some of her life prior to the downfall, that's what I think will be the key. If they spend as much time on her actual career and her successes as they do the drama and the controversy, they'll do a lot better.
Okay, okay. I mean, that would. I'm still a little leery that because of what happened with the Celia movie, their family wasn't exactly gung ho about that film. I just guess I
Mhm.
got some reservations, man. I got some reservations as to whether or not Lifetime or even Angela Bassett can pull everything off without the family's approval. I think
Yeah.
that's a big thing. Like with both of these films, it seems like the families aren't exactly on board with these movies being made, and that's
Mhm.
well at least in the Aaliyah movie, that's part of the reason why that movie was as crap as everyone is saying it is. I still haven't seen it. I don't even think I want to see it
Yeah.
because
You know,
of the reviews have been so bad, and because of the way Wendy Williams has gone about explaining away that
shit.
despite how shitty this movie was, everybody watched it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It could go either way at this point. But like I said, I mean, it, in the hands of Angela Bassett, I'm a little bit more hopeful as opposed to a gossip TV star like Wendy Williams. All she does is drag people. So
Mm.
of course we knew that this whole R. Kelly thing was going to be front and center. Whereas where I'm hoping that Angela will be a little bit better about, okay, we're going to touch on these things because you can't avoid her. Well, she didn't do crack. Crack was cheap. Crack is whack. So whatever addictions that she had, um, if if she can tastefully touch on those things, and the music too is going to be a deal breaker for Aaliyah. We didn't get to hear back and forth and resolution and 1 in a million. My God, 1 in a million. Why couldn't we have heard that? Well, because they didn't have access to the song. So she's singing. Wendy called it "Let Me Know," but the song is called "At Your Best." So anything that she did that Aaliyah didn't wasn't Aaliyah original, like a song that was from a movie soundtrack or "At Your Best," she was able to perform that song. I don't know if they have rights to Whitney's music, but I do know that Deborah Cox is doing the vocals for the Lifetime movie.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I like Deborah Cox. I used to have a real big crush on Deborah Cox back in the day. Oh
Oh
man.
my.
But you were talking about creepy niggas when we were talking about R. Kelly. And right now right now, King Creep is Bill Cosby. How surprised were you that this story has blown up as big as it has right now?
That has done it now?
Yeah,
I'm quite surprised
these aren't
because
new
it's not the
allegations.
first time that the allegations were made. Yeah,
Right.
so this ain't news. What surprised me is how it just like grew legs and ran this time, and now we've got people coming out from everywhere, and not just whoever was part of the original civil suit a few years ago, but we've got people popping up that didn't say anything before, and then there was a claim that Raven Simone said that something happened, but then she debunked that and said, no, I never said anything happened. I was a kid. That's gross. So now we've got years have gone by, different stories, no police reports, no investigation. All we have are questions at this point. That's all there are questions and trying to figure out timelines and who's believable, who's not. I know a lot of people hate to question victims or alleged victims because once you start asking questions, people people say that you're victim shaming and you're blaming them for their situation. It's like, well, it's not about blame. It's questions. There's nothing left but questioning.
Yeah, but here's the thing. At least for me, um, the whole idea, I think for a lot of folks, because we know these stories aren't new. You know, we've had these allegations pop up over the years quite often. You know, they just never really got legs, right? And so because we're in this social media, you know, cycle, and you know everybody's talking about everything all hours of the day, 24 hours a day when you got the 24-hour news cycle and what have you. Things tend to grow legs. You know, people need something to talk about. They need to feed this beast to have something else to talk about, right? So you got that going on for why the story grows and it continues to grow and people continue to talk about it the way that they do. But at the same time, like, you know, a lot of folks would ask, well, why are these stories coming out now? Why is everybody coming out and telling these stories now? Um, and you know, just for me, it just seems like when you're going up against someone, a personality as big as Bill Cosby, that isn't exactly like the easiest thing in the world to do. You know, like it would seem to me that someone of Bill Cosby's stature, like if these allegations weren't true, that I would be coming out guns blazing, like, okay, you know I didn't do this, and sue them for defamation and slander. I would sue them. You know, like I'm not about to let you besmirch my name in this way to have
Hmm.
folks thinking that I'm out here doing this to all of these women. If they were false, if these were false allegations, there's no way in hell I'm gonna sit back and let all these women start coming out of the woodworks if it was about money and that I didn't do it. There's no way in hell that I would sit back and let all these women come out and say that I did X, Y, and Z to them when I know I didn't. And I'd start having the lawsuits swinging out. defamation of
Hmm.
character and slander. But he hasn't done it. He hasn't even bothered to defend himself. What do you think about the fact that he hasn't said anything? Like he's refused to say anything.
Well, like you said, somebody as powerful as Bill Cosby, I'm sure, is able to obtain a lot of legal representation. That's probably as far as and also a PR team. He probably had to fire some people after the whole meme
Yeah.
debacle. Like that didn't even make any sense. So I think he probably had to reconstruct a strong team around him to help him fight this off and do some damage control. Something's going to have to be done. So until you can figure out what your game plan is, the best thing to do at this point is just not say anything and let whatever legal representation you do have put out whatever statements that they have. Now, a lawyer did come out and leave a statement saying, okay, look, these things aren't true, and the more stories come out, the more ridiculous that they're getting. So I guess we just kind of have to wait and see what it is that he and his team are working on. It seems like they're taking a long time to do it, but like I said, somebody that high up, he should have something in the works. As far as a lawsuit, this is the thing, and I'm using Bujeto's phrase. This is the thing. We've got 30 years of accusations. We've got 30 years worth of time. And again, there were no reports, there were no investigations, there's nothing. And so at this point, it's his word versus their word or her word. And we have to look at each person individually because not every story may be exactly what they say it is. And quite honestly, I believe he was a straight up freak. I ain't going to be one to say, oh no, Bill Cosby could never be capable of doing that. I think he was a freak. How far that freakiness goes, either way, I'm not going to say they're lying. I'm not going to say he's lying. But when you're trying to, I guess at this point, you really can't say, oh, that's slander, because either way, you can't prove or disprove anything that happened.
Well,
That's why they're not this to court right now.
that's the thing though. Like even when it comes to, we could talk about whether or not it can be proven or disproven, right? So say for instance, these allegations come out, uh, and you didn't do it though. That's the thing. It's one of those things. It's like, what, like you had who was that? Michael Jackson had a lot of allegations made against him, and he settled cases. R. Kelly settled a lot of cases against him with underage girls. And so it already gives you that air of, well, it must be something to this if these guys are willing to pay money just to make this shit go away. It's got to be something to this. Like, to me, it would seem more logical. It's just on some logical shit. It would just seem to me more logical that if you know that you didn't do what these women or what these people are saying you did, and that you make your money off of your name and your reputation, that I'm going to do everything possible to protect my name and my reputation. I'm not going to let somebody just walk around and say, yeah, that dude raped me, and I know damn well that I didn't. And there should be some consequences for those folks. Nobody should just be able to feel like, hey, I can say this about this guy, and maybe he'll give me a large payoff to shut the fuck up. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's just
Well, I
my
guess a
line of
lot of
thinking
people
on it.
have their motives for whatever their actions are. Like even
Uh-oh.
I don't,
Hello?
but
Okay, it was
hello, can you
breaking
hear
up
me?
a second there. Yeah, I got you now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was saying, like, as far as people's motives, you don't know exactly what their motives are. As far as payouts and what you were able to do, I just don't know. Like, admittedly, and I've said this, this is hard for me personally to to wade through because Bill Cosby, I associate him with so many of my memories of childhood and growing up and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I know you understand. You got to be able to separate the person, and if he's guilty, he's guilty. But this is what happens when things play out in the court of public opinion as opposed to the court of law.
Hmm.
There are no set guidelines or standards for or statutes or limitations and what kind of evidence you need or whether you believe somebody. There's so much to play when each individual has to be judge and jury in their minds, and that's what's happening now. In my mind, of course, I want to say I would hate for any of this to be true. I'm sure if this in fact did happen to any of those victims, they would rather it not to have happened in the first place as well. So, and as for me, I'm not jumping on the he's a rapist bandwagon. Like I hear a lot of people talk about him. Oh, he's a rapist. He's a rapist. I don't know that,
Hmm.
but I also don't know that they're lying either. So, and I guess that's why I kind of struggle to talk about it. But when people throw stories in my face, say, here, you see, that means he's guilty. It's like, whoa, wait a second, we can't do that, because I know on the other hand, I would hate to be accused of something, even if it was borderline inappropriate. I still wouldn't want to be accused of doing something far worse. But I don't know what he's thinking or what he's doing or what he's dealing with or why he hasn't just come out and said, or at least put out a video that says, hey, I didn't do it. Because clearly you can't do an interview. Do an interview, you're going to get asked other questions. You're going to get tripped up, and that's a problem. And that's probably why other than NPR. I don't know what the hell happened with NPR. I guess he thought he was safe there. Wrong. People want to know. People want to hear stuff. Like they put him out on Front Street with NPR. So unfortunately, that didn't quite work out, Mr. Cosby. But he did do a show last night in Las Vegas. Got a standing ovation. So apparently, this thing it's polarized. People are kind of, you got people who are dead set against him, all for him, and then there's the rest of it in the middle. But either way, I think we're going to need some time to figure out how this is going to play out.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess like me and you are like on two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to Cosby, because I do, for me, I do think that he it is possible that he did do these things. Um, I don't necessarily have the connection with Bill Cosby as far as like having so many of my childhood memories tied up into Bill Cosby. Like I watched the Cosby Show; it was a good show. I watched A Different World; it was a good show. But it wasn't anything that like I connected with those shows to the point that I identified my childhood with them, so to speak. And they came out when I was like 9, 10, 13, stuff like that. Um, but just say for instance, like say for instance, like with R. Kelly, right? You had so many of these stories coming out about R. Kelly, and these were before, this is before social media, before there was a Facebook and Twitter that people could disseminate this information everywhere and blast it out everywhere. Like you got your news through the newspaper, and maybe MTV may speak on it and everything else. Um, and I think for a lot of folks, it's that it's a bit of celebrity worship in the sense of I don't want to believe it because I've grown to admire and and idolize this person to a degree, right? So you got that, you got the idolization and the admiration of these celebrities to where folks don't they don't want to believe them. And then you have the victim on now you have the victim on this one side, and they're saying these things, this person did this to me. And part of the reason why so many people don't, a person in their position won't come forward, say for 30, 40 years or whatever, is because this person has so much power associated with them. This man tried to buy NBC by himself at one point in time, so and people identify Bill Cosby as America's dad, a black man walking around as America's dad, and people have this image of Bill Cosby as Cliff Huxtable. So you got that going for you. And no one's celebrity, like in a sense, just like in my own family, a little bit, just knowing that, like sometimes celebrities are a bit fucked up on a personal level, and people just don't necessarily want to identify with them on that personal level. They hold on to what this person brought to them through their art, through their music, through their acting, through their, whatever they've been able to produce in order to bring people, smiles to to folks' face. But they never identified this person as a person. It's that celebrity level of admiration that they have for these folks. And I think for me personally, like that's kind of where I see a lot of folks when it comes to whether or not Bill Cosby did it or not. You know, less than 2% of rape allegations are either proven or admitted to be false, right? What's the chances of Bill Cosby hitting that 2% jackpot 16 times. You know, and I just try to I try to bring it base it down to that level. Like what's the chances of this happening 16 times to one individual?
Well, I guess okay. So on the flip side of that, um, I'm thinking about a time where we're starting with the first allegations around 1969, again somewhere around
Mm-hmm.
1970, 71, 72. Shortly, this is just what, a decade post civil rights, barely a decade post
Mm-hmm.
civil rights. And I'm trying to think of a time where a black man, I don't care what celebrity he is, and at that point he wasn't buying NBC. He wasn't Heathcliff Huxtable in 1970. A black
Mm-hmm.
man rolling up on a white woman, throwing his arm around her in Las Vegas, talking about, "Hey, marry me," bring her backstage, drug her, screw her, and not just one, two, three, four, five. All these white women getting raped, getting taken advantage of, and this brother getting away with it. So that's kind of difficult for me to kind of grasp because,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a day and time where black men are just getting shot just for being black, walking down the street. That's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around. Also, when you have some of the women who are saying, "Well, yeah, uh, he had me come and I went over to his house and he gave me the pills and said, here, take these." So then you just take them, somebody you just met that day, and then next thing you know, you're waking up, this is going, you say you were raped, and then after that the only person you tell is your mother, and she says, well, see what you can get for that, see if he can take care of you. So now you've got somebody, and you're saying that you're going every time he comes into town. So the idea that you're answering a rapist booty call whenever he comes into town, because and it's like, and there's the constant going back. So we've got money that's playing into it. We've got some sort of historical context that I'm kind of wrestling with. Like I said, I believe he was a straight up freak. Now, how far his freakishness went, I don't know. But money can be a big motivator. The idea, like when Janice Dickinson came out, like a lot of people are like, oh, come on, but she don't need money. She don't need money, no. But she's been known as this crackhead and a bitch for the longest. She had a horrible reputation, and I would hate to think that somebody would capitalize on an opportunity like this in order to become relevant and to gain the sympathy that you've never been able to gain as a celebrity. But I don't. You know, people can be crazy. He could be crazy. They could be crazy. I know right now I'm probably taking a very unpopular stance on this because I'm not willing to just jump air on the side of he did it. I've got questions just like anybody. And so at this point, until you can get to a point where you can really analyze it, or until he comes out and tells you his side I mean, who knows? Maybe he's 70 some years old. There might be a deathbed confession at some point, because it seems like if this don't kill him, I don't know how much longer he'll last after this. This
Yeah.
has just been, and here's another thing that I was thinking about, and it really
Mm-hmm.
bothered me. In a time where we have black men are being demonized, like, they're angry and they're big, and because of their stature you got to be afraid of them, to convince the world that black men are dangerous. How much more convincing could it be than to show or to make out the safest black man in the world that you probably think of right now, the safest black man preys on white women and rapes them? Like, that's black men, hang it up. You can't trust Bill Cosby. Who can you trust?
Oh well,
Damn.
that's an entirely different angle that I wouldn't even really think about when it came to that, as far as like you
Oh,
know, talking
yeah.
about
I'm not usually a
criminal things.
conspiracy theorist,
Yeah,
but
because
yeah.
you know what, the only person I think I've heard that conspiracy from would be like what was that, Tariq Nasheed. I heard that on his podcast. He was talking about Bill Cosby being set up. That's the long game. If you talking about setting a nigga up, that's the long game. If you
Yeah.
think about,
I
like,
think
if
that,
you gonna set this guy up from the '60s, not knowing that in the 1980s he's gonna have the biggest fucking television show on TV in the
No, 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 no.
1980s and producing one. Like I don't know, man. I don't know about that one much at
I
all. Like I think that's a bit of a reach.
again, I mean, it depends because if we can, because enough money can get somebody to say something happened that didn't happen. I'm not now. This okay. We're going to take a moment and do some conspiracy theory stuff, which again I don't
Okay.
typically do, but we're just going
Okay.
to take for a moment and do that and play this game. Now, if you got
Okay.
somebody, let's say a particular set of brothers, and I'm not talking about black brothers. I'm talking about brothers who happens to have a whole lot of money and
Mhm.
they've got a lot of political reach and money everywhere behind studios and whatnot. When this thing around 2005 is when the first civil case came out. That was when she had the 2005, 2006. I think her name was Coban or Costan or something like that.
Mhm.
And with her civil case, she said she went to the prosecutor. Prosecutor said ain't enough. And then that's when she went straight to the no the yeah the she went straight to the civil. And then that's when they started finding. I think there were 9 or there were 10 people that they were going to have to testify. Now, how many of those 5 or 10, or I mean, however those 9 or 10 actually have truthful stories? I don't know. Could be 7. Could be all of them. We don't know. Now, fast forward. Here we are at 2014. Black man's not looking too good right now. Every time you turn around, he's dangerous. This is going on. All right. Now on the other side, you've got black people who are pretty pissed off at Bill Cosby because they don't like what he's saying to the black community. He's being too hard. So now, if we can take the safest black man and demonize him in the worst possible way, like all the women have been up until yesterday that I've seen have been white. Every last one of them. So we got this black man who's been preying on white women for the past 30 years, and since black people are pissed off at him, and basically waiting for the moment that he screws up so that they can drag him, because black folks been dragging him since this happened, and then you've got the other ones who are loyal, but some of them are dragging him. Work is done. I
Okay,
mean,
but
it's the general take, and again, this is the conspiracy theory.
okay, yeah, but speaking on conspiracy though, like take for instance, like the folks who would take issue with the things that Bill Cosby has said when it comes to blaming black people for their current predicament. With the pull your pants up and and all these other things, speaking proper English and all these other things. It's been a while since he's done that. Like I don't think people
Hmm.
been really checking for Bill Cosby for quite some time. Like outside of I think I
Oh, they
saw
still
him
mad at
like
him now.
they may still be mad at him, but I don't think anybody's really been paying Bill Cosby much attention since then. And there's been some years that's gone past since he went on that nationwide tour to tell black folks that they need to do X, Y, and Z. It's been some time that at least 7 or 8 years since Bill Cosby has been in the mainstream in a way that mattered. In a way that made people think. You know what? I need to pay attention to what it is that Bill Cosby is saying. I don't think people have really been checking for Bill Cosby in that way. So and for these things to come out, or better yet, for folks to try to blame Hannibal Buress for these things coming out, because these things have been in the air forever. All of the
Hmm.
allegations against him right now, like a lot of these aren't new. Like people have known about them for years. They've chosen to ignore them for years. It was settled the same way like a lot of folks feel like with R. Kelly, like, well, the shit's settled, so I'm done with it. I'm going to continue to enjoy his music. I'm going to continue to enjoy the Cosby Show, whatever. People just simply weren't thinking about Bill Cosby. So when it comes to the conspiracy theory aspect of this, that's why I feel like it's so far fetched. Nobody was checking for Bill at this particular moment in time. Now he had a couple new projects come out, with the Netflix, and I think he had a pilot for NBC or something like that. These things were coming out, but by and large, I don't think a lot of people were really looking for Bill Cosby in a way that, like, you know what, we need to take this dude down before he's able to do any of these things. I that to me, like, I really feel like, again, I know we're talking on some conspiracy theory level stuff. That's where I be feeling like sometimes it's like it's a bit of a reach. like
Now, what do
like
you,
we
now,
like
now what do you mean? Like as far as before he can do more, be
well
more
no like
successful, or say more things
well
against the
no
black community?
what I'm saying is like because no one was really checking for not R. Kelly. Damn, I'm getting both of them mixed up. But
They check
because
for me.
because no one was really checking for Bill Cosby in a way where they had to know what Bill Cosby was doing. They were paying attention to what Bill Cosby was saying. They were going around making sure that they knew what Bill Cosby had going on. This whole thing, like, in order for this to, this conspiracy, well, we're going to drum up this comedian who's going to go into a comedic bit to talk about Bill Cosby's rape allegations from 10, 20, 30 years ago. And we're going to use this to derail whatever projects he may have going forward, whether that be the Netflix deal or whether that be the new show for NBC or whatever it was that Bill Cosby's doing. We're going to derail that. And we're going to use this comedian to, that bit to do it. Because that's what a lot of folks are attributing to this whole thing even kicking off, the fact that Hannibal Buress made mention of it in a comedic set in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and he's been doing it for months.
Yeah, so the fact that people are trying to say that it's Hannibal Buress' fault and this is what got it kicked off is like, no, this information has been available to quite a few folks or everybody for as long, for quite some time since those initial cases went to court. So when it comes to the conspiracy theory that black folks are mad and we're gonna demonize, black men are being killed by the police for no reason at all. We gotta keep up this ideal of the black man being menacing. We gotta keep up this ideal of the black man being a threat, not only to us but especially to white women. We gotta keep this up, and we're gonna use Bill Cosby in order to keep this up. I feel like it's a reach. That's just.
But the nicest black man, the safest, nicest black man, like if you can't trust Bill Cosby, I don't think it was. And again, the conspiracy theory, not because he's doing so much, but because white folks are so comfortable with him. I mean, it's the perfect target for that. If that was the plan, he would be the perfect target.
Okay, but again, when we get
because he could still be a freak and he could be guilty of sin, though.
True that.
I don't know.
That. But when we talk about the safest black man, the safest, who are we thinking about? Are we thinking about Bill Cosby or are we thinking about Cliff Huxtable? Because Cliff Huxtable is the character. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's who.
But most people, when they see Bill Cosby, see. But that's the thing. If you can take down Cliff Huxtable, and like you said, most people, they don't separate the fiction from reality.
Yeah, and that again, what I alluded to earlier, when we think about the celebrity worship, when we think about this person as an ideal, we don't even think about this person as necessarily being a person anymore. It's an ideal. This is what I idolize. This is what I aspire to be. And so, I understand like a lot of people's world could get crushed if this is true. I have a hard time thinking that that these stories are false. I really do. Like, I tie it into the whole thing of there being, less than 2% of rape allegations are proven or admitted to be false. And for this man to get hit with I think it's 16 at this point.
But,
for this man to get hit
and to be
16 times.
Yeah, and to be clear, they weren't all rape allegations. They were sexual assault allegations where, I mean, it wasn't they weren't all necessarily being there wasn't necessarily intercourse. There may have been something where one said that she was made to massage his man parts while he let her wet her hair or something like that. I don't know what it was. But, I mean, they were all some sort of sexual assault or sexual abuse allegation, but not all of them were rape. Doesn't make it any better, but just to differentiate.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and I'm surprised that the story got legs in the way that it did. To the point where we have Janice Dickinson coming out releasing photos of Bill Cosby in a robe to TMZ and whatever else. I'm surprised by it. Just the sheer number of allegations that are coming up against Bill Cosby right now. He's got to. I don't know if he necessarily has to say something, but his lawyers, instead of selectively choosing which one of these women they're going to respond to, I think they should come out summarily and like, yo, this isn't what's going on. And I really think they should be more aggressive in how they defend Bill Cosby if these allegations against him aren't true.
Yeah, I think there might be a fear that he would actually have to admit that he's a freak. I don't. I think he might not even want to admit that. Like, I don't think he wants people to know that he was an adulterer and a philanderer, and that he was um, uh, getting high and having orgies or whatever the hell the case may be. I think that he just doesn't really want any of it to come out because he's built this image of this happily married man who can be trusted, who tells you jokes about family, who's been active in communities, who's been pretty much raising your children through television with the Fat Albert cartoon and picture pages and the
Mhm.
Cosby show. So there's an image that he has. So anything, any little thing to taint it, even if it's for him to say that, yeah, I had a threesome with at some point in 1949 or whatever the hell had happened, then that gives that leaves it, that taints that perfect image that he's worked so hard to build up. And it's a shame that it's even had to that's even this way. I wish that if he has faults as a human, that he would just come forth and say, hey, I'm not perfect and I screwed up. I think that's the
Yeah,
most frustrating thing.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like even the idea of Bill being the like this wholesome guy. Like I mean, there were allegations that he had like an outside child, and he'd been taking care of this girl for years. That he had outside women children outside of his marriage. So and people have pretty much looked over that for the fact that hey, it's Bill Cosby. People have pretty much overlooked the fact that he's had outside children. I don't think he necessarily acknowledged that woman as his daughter, but he had been taking care of that woman financially for most of her life before she came out publicly. So yeah, man, it's
Now,
it's a sad
now
sad state of
there
affairs.
was one. I don't know if it's the same, if it's the same young lady and her mother, but uh, one of the women that he supposedly had a child with got locked up
Mm,
for trying to blackmail him for something like 2.4. I can't remember if there was a decimal. I don't know if it was 2.4 or 24 million dollars. It was a lot of zeros, put it that way. And
mm-hmm.
she was arrested for that, and they refused the paternity test. And that's something that I discovered recently. So I don't know if that's the same case or there's some others out there. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, if he just needs to just say, look, I'm not perfect. And one of the other most frustrating things is that because so many women, when they are attacked, or if they've been in a situation that where even they don't necessarily know if they should report it or not, and they don't report it, because the time that goes by, there's nothing that you can do criminally, or there's no way to bring it into court, um, to go through the evidence and make him speak for himself, to say, okay, this is what happened. There's no way to actually put this in an actual setting where it could be judged based on this, all of those people in this room, he's in the room too, here's all the information we have, and now we can kind of disseminate it and figure out through analyzing each separate piece what's going on. It's just right in its kangaroo court. It's all court of opinion. It's out there, and everybody's swirling around between conspiracy theories, personal experience, not having any experience with sexual assault or battery. It's a lot of emotions right now that are going on, and I don't think that many of us are able to piece it together with clear minds. It's a shame.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, I think uh, the entire fact that it's Bill Cosby associated with all of these things is I mean, like I said, it's troubling. It's just troubling, and the sheer number of allegations against the man is troubling. But you know what? I want to switch it up. I want to switch it
No,
up a little
please.
bit.
Woo,
Yeah. um,
thank you.
somebody got married this week. Somebody
Oh,
got
who
married
got
this
married?
week. Solange got
I's
married.
married now.
Solange they
Yeah.
got married, and I thought Willie Dynamite was dead. Where she find Willie Dynamite at? Where she find him? I thought the dude was dead.
Well, he came back to life just for her. It
No,
was the
actually,
power of the
the That man name is Alan Gerard Ferguson, man. That is not Willie Dynamite. Willie Dynamite actually is he's on like Sesame Street. Willie Dynamite, I forgot his name on Sesame Street. The old black bald dude on Sesame Street is was Willie Dynamite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you didn't
Well,
know
all
that?
right.
Yeah, he went from pimping to like teaching your kids the ABCs. But
Oh, well, that's all right then. Well,
yeah,
whatever
but
works.
what do you think? I was looking at the fact that like Solange is 28 and
Mhm.
her new husband is 51 years old. Like that's a 23-year
Mhm.
age difference between the
Mhm.
two. What do you think about that? You know, the fact the age difference between the two. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. As a parent, I gotta say that I would be quite uncomfortable with it. Like I could not see my daughter bringing home a man that could be her father's age. And matter of fact, I don't think that her father would allow that, not even a little bit. So as a parent, I'm like, I wouldn't be comfortable with it.
She
That being
grown though.
said, yes, yeah, but still, I mean, you don't want. You're like, wait a second. Like, there's certain experiences. He gonna die like way sooner than you. If if you're blessed to live 100 years or whatever. See, I mean, as a parent, you're just like, it's just weird. But she's kind of strange. I love her. She is like nerdy black chick to the nth degree. She is just so eccentric and so different that it doesn't surprise me that she's not in what you would consider a traditional relationship where she would be with somebody who's
Mm.
maybe 31 or 32. And who knows? Like I'm not familiar with this man, so I don't know what kind of social circle that he had, and maybe he acts younger and she acts older, and so it's perfect. It might just be the perfect match. Apparently, it is because they did, they got married. Um, then there's what could be some daddy issues because, as we know, Matthew Knowles and his girls, they haven't had a good relationship in some years now.
You know what? Now that I think about it, I think what was that Jay Z is like quite a few years older than Beyonce is too.
Hmm.
Um, and as a father, man, like I think about it like this. Like I don't know if I can necessarily be cool with a guy trying to talk to my daughter, and I could have, me and couldn't class together or something. Like, I don't know if I can be cool with that. Like, hey, man, use. Like, say, for instance, like when you like 17, dealing with somebody that's 11 years old is like, what the fuck are you thinking about? But
Mm.
then when you're like 37 and you still there,
Yeah,
am I talking to
yeah,
myself?
no, I'm still here. It's like it just cut out, and I wasn't hearing anything anymore. It's like, okay, should I say anything? I didn't want to jump in and say anything if you were still talking.
Oh, I didn't know you could. I didn't know you couldn't hear anything.
Yeah,
No, I was
no.
just saying that I really don't know uh, if I could be cool with that. Like if I could, as a dad, being cool with some dude I went to school with, trying to get my daughter. I don't know if I could really be cool with that.
I
But I
mean,
don't necessarily know if Matthew knows how.
see, I don't know if I mean, as parents, we're just kind of going to be iffy about who our kids hook up with anyway, because the whole point is we want to make sure that they're happy, and we don't want them to grow too fast, and we don't want to have, they, if we can see things that they probably can't see with dealing with a relationship with somebody who's more mature than them, then, that's how we think as parents. Now, when you're in a situation when you're dating, I mean, that's totally different. Like, I remember saying that, okay, fine. whenever I get married, I'm gonna make sure that they can't be any more than 5 years older than me, but I don't want them any younger than 3 years younger than me. Like, it sounds stupid, but for whatever, it made sense to me. That's what I thought. Now my husband, he's actually um, just over a year younger than me, but
Hmm.
it's fun. It works out. I mean, we connect. So hey, if she and this older gentleman, if they when they both get in the room together and it's like they both 19 and young and they doing what they do, then hey, I say go for it. Congratulations to her. I'm just glad that she's happy and she's got, it's a complete family now. She's got a father in the house with her son. I mean, it's not his, her son's father, but it's a complete unit. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not knocking the ideal of the family or anything like that. I don't know anything about their relationship. It was just one of those observations you make. Like hey, wait a minute. First, I thought he was
What
Willie
is it?
Dynamite. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Now, first I thought he was Willie Dynamite. I was like, damn, she really found this dude. Like I thought he was dead. And then like you hear, then you hear that, like, it's much
Man, Google is frustrating me today.
Dynamite. What's that?
I said, Google is frustrating me today. It keeps like your
Yes.
voice gets broken up and then I don't hear anything for a while and then it comes back in and I'm like, this is a live show, so I'm trying to like keep that face on like, yeah, I hear it, and then I'm not here.
Yeah, you know what? It actually cut out on me like 2 minutes ago. Like it completely cut out and had to reconnect. But that's what post production is for. That's what post
Uh,
production is for. So
But
for
yeah,
those of
but
you who are
but
listening,
Solange is so weird though. Solange is so different. She's just, you know what? If she would have married somebody close to her age, I would have been completely surprised. I'll be honest. Like if she'd have married somebody 28, 29, I'd have been like, that ain't gonna last long.
well, there's no guarantee of that. There's no
I
guarantee of
know
that.
it's guaranteed, but no.
This is like there's no guarantee that like this is going to last. You hope it will. That's at
Hmm.
the end of the day with any marriage. I think everybody hopes that it will. And that's all you really can ask for.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Congratulations. Those photos were beautiful. I've
Yeah,
seen
man.
more people try to reenact that damn photo shoot. It's like this is not your moment. Did you see the one where the sisters were at Applebee's,
Yeah, I
all
saw that.
stacked up on? Oh, ma'am, have us
I saw that.
stop it.
Hey,
Stop it.
hey, people will take any avenue they can to go viral with just about anything. So it doesn't surprise me if they do.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good viral situation because a lot of people were like, nope.
Yes, indeed, man. But I really do want to thank you, Lavinia, for coming through and helping me with this show. Tell the folks how they can get in touch with you and listen to the podcast. Let them know how they can get that show.
Okay. All right. Well, if you want to listen to me after the entire conspiracy theory talk and understand that is not the usual avenue, I thought that was a special presentation from me. Okay. But if you want to check me out, you can listen to me and Bougetto on Just Thinking Out Loud podcast. Again, it's on Stitcher, iTunes, Podbean, Podomatic, and Spreaker. And also, She Be Showing Up Straight No Chaser. That's my solo podcast. Hit me up on Facebook, She Be Showing Up Straight No Chaser, and also the Facebook page for Just Thinking Out Loud. And follow me on Twitter at She Be Showing Up.
All right, all right. I really do appreciate Lavinia coming through and helping me out with this. And of course, I gotta let you guys know how to get at me here at the Spann Report. Let your voice be heard before we get out of here. So of course, hit me up at the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. You can also hit me up at the email. The email is new, and it's feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Send all of your emails there from here on out. And you can also check me out on Twitter and Instagram. My name, of course, there is Mr._Spann. I also have a Facebook fan page. It's Mr. Spann. Go over to the fan page, like the fan page. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And, of course, you can go to thespannreport.com. I said thespannreport.com. The Spann That's the name of the damn website. I'm tripping.
I'm not saying, you know what it is. All right.
Yeah. TheSpanReport.com. Go there. Check out every Span TV video. Every podcast is available there. Go to Stitcher and iTunes. Subscribe to the show on iTunes again because that old feed is dead. So you won't be able to get any new episode of TheSpanReport.com again on that old feed. Go to iTunes. If you're listening through iTunes, you have to resubscribe to the show because of the new feed. Stitcher, you don't have to do anything. Everything is as it is on Stitcher. Just continue to listen on Stitcher as you would. But on iTunes, you're going to have to resubscribe. So everybody listening to me on iTunes, go to iTunes and resubscribe to the show there. And yeah, I got to get out of here, y'all. I had a good time today. And thank you again, Lavinia, for helping me out with this. And
Thank
also,
you.
thank you. Also, though, I do have some feedback, but because of the tech I have at this particular moment in time, I can't address those now. But they will be on the podcast episode. So I'm going to address the listener feedback that I got this week. I'm going to address those on the podcast for you on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else you get the podcast. But for those of you listening live, I can't respond to the feedback the way I would want to right now. So yeah. I'll talk to you guys again later. Peace. Did it stop? Hey, babe.